Just a good old boy. Wouldn't change if they could.
When I say all cops are bad, it's because I work with them. It's because I work with them enough to know that the good cops are so few and far between that the shit like Sonya Massey's case is so unsurprising to me, so deeply unsurprising to me.
We will always stand beside you.
Sonya called the cops herself because she thought there was an intruder at her home. They then went to her home, started questioning her, entered her home, were suspicious of her. Mind you, she had called them, asked her for her identification.
I've got something that'll make your night better. Half price, guys.
All right, man.
I got bags of IDs for sale.
I was just curious.
You've got to have more and more, because the highs get shorter and the lows get lower. And when you run out of money to buy it, you'll lie, you'll steal, you'll do whatever it takes to get more.
And then when they noticed that she was in the middle of cooking dinner with a pot of boiling water on the stove to make pasta, they said, hey, can you go attend to that pot of boiling water? And then when she did that, they 6 times.
It's a trap.
Her last words were, I'm sorry. She ducked and said, I'm sorry. I will never forget that. The whole thing is on video. And then none of the cops held the guy who killed her accountable.
That's right. We don't submit to terror. We make the terror.
So, as you point out, characteristic of law enforcement officials when something goes wrong. We find that there's long history of having identified and noticed the threat and doing nothing about it. Bystanders, people, civilians are more attuned to potential threats than the people paid to keep us safe.
He stopped his partner from offering her assistance. His partner gave up. When I say it's all cops, I mean it. I mean it. Because we allow the most untrained, unbelievably violent.
I love what the fuck I do for a living. There's nothing else I'm good at. I love violence, I love fighting, I love shooting, and I fucking love freedom. It wasn't that long ago that we were drinking out of the schools of our enemies. Like, you know, like, I'm gonna fucking murder this guy, then I'm gonna take his head, then I'm gonna cut his head in half, and then I'm gonna boil his skull, and then I'm gonna drink out of that skull.
The man who did this deserves to be in prison for the rest of his life. She called them for help, they had no business being in her home, and she posed no threat at any point during the video. This was another completely unjustified murder that we would have had to take the word of an officer for if the body camera footage wasn't on, which it almost wasn't.
I have some concerns and questions for you. There's 5 elements of the First Amendment. What are they?
Well, I'm gonna go ahead.
What are they, sir? What's the 4th Amendment? You don't know any of it. You need to go study the Constitution, and until you do, don't say a word to me, please. Go back inside, look up the Constitution, and read those rights and learn them. Memorize them, then come out. Other than that, you don't know what you're doing or what you're talking about, and you don't need to be a lieutenant.
Why are body cameras not on the entire shift? This I don't understand. Is it like we don't have money for the storage of the data? Is it that we don't have money for backup batteries? Like, this is the only job that you can take human life and keep your job.
You're being an idiot! Insubordinate.
This guy had his on the entire time until someone said turn that off, which I think, again, why? Asked as he was getting the med kit moments after he told the other officer not to. Dispatch, does she have a record of being 1096, which is police code for is she crazy? This is again after he took the shot, so now we're looking to justify it before we have to retell this story.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
4-minute mark, the other one who was holding her head said she's still gasping. The lack of urgency between the time when he takes the shot, walks, not runs, to the car to get his med kit. He takes the time to check with dispatch to see if she has a history. Who knows if you could have saved her life? This is not to mention the fact that 1, you did not have to do it. 2, you have low lethal options. I checked with your police force. That's not the only tool they give you. He also worked for 6 departments in a 4-year span.
Criminals don't care about laws. They don't obey laws.
Wow, that's profound. I mean, you're talking about our justice system just doesn't obey the same laws that they're meant to enforce, is what you're saying.
Yeah, or even the laws that they make for themselves, for that matter. They don't obey those.
Do we learn nothing every time this happens? Do we not learn that maybe we respond with mental health training? Do we not learn that maybe our first item we reach for isn't that in the tool belt?
Did you have to act so mean? Don't you know you're a human being?
You have chosen to be the enforcement mechanism for the law. You have sold your soul for a paycheck.